this video, we're going to be talking about Avalanche, one of the most promising layer 1 solutions on the market, which was one of the major projects touted after during the last bull cycle. Can Avalanche 10x, 15x, even? What would it need to look like for Avalanche to 93x from here? We're going to break that down. We're going to see what I'm doing, whether I'm accumulating Avalanche and breaking down some of the price action, guys. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. As always, if you want to buy Avalanche or any other token, you can do so using BYBIT or BITGET. Links in the description to claim your bonuses. Now, in the short term here, you can see on the 4-hourly chart, Avalanche is working within this wedge pattern it's forming. It's channeled from the bottom to the top of the wedge, and it's waiting on some direction from Bitcoin to decide if it can get the breakout from here. But what we're going to be talking about is some of the long-term mission behind Avalanche. And as we know, Avalanche is a very promising layer 1 blockchain. At the peak, it was one of the biggest projects by total value locked and had a lot of attention garnered after it, with the price running up to an all-time high of $146. To put that into perspective, currently we're sitting here on Avalanche at $21, so at least a 7x back to all-time highs as a possibility here for Avalanche. If we look at the total value locked, you can see Avalanche continues to sit strongly there in 4th position with just shy of $3 billion in total value locked. That's about $3 billion away from Tron in 3rd place, and Binance Smart Chain sitting at $6.37 billion. If you look at its total value locked to market cap ratio of 2, that's not insane, okay? It's a good multiple compared to the likes of Solana, which is commanding a 5x valuation, and Binance Smart Chain commanding a 6.4 valuation, and Ethereum commanding a 3 times valuation. So definitely undervalued in terms of pound for pound its total value locked. Now, other things to look at for Avalanche, without getting into the exact technology behind it, but we know that they're focused around the subnets, right? They want to build out subnets, and one of the concerns a lot of people had was that transactions will fall and the gas fees will fall due to the subnets. Now, the subnets is the structure that Dr. Emin, the founder and CEO of Avalanche, has decided to go after in terms of getting more throughput and scalability of the layer 1. That's the strategy he's going after. Now, what you need to notice is Avalanche is used to burn the gas fees on the mainnet. On subnets, people can use their own tokens, okay? Projects can use their own tokens on their own subnet, and therefore you don't need to burn Avalanche. So a lot of people are saying, okay, this is going to have an impact on the number of Avalanche being burned, but Dr. Emin has come out to counter that, to say, no, in order to set up a subnet, you're going to have to stake a whole bunch of Avalanche anyway, which should counter that process, okay? Because you're getting these Avalanche locked as well. We've got 1,400 validators locked, validating the chain over at Avalanche. It is quite a well decentralized platform, and they pretty much think they've solved the trilemma, which is why it's one of the promising platforms out there. If you take a look at Messari, you can take a look at their investors as well, and they're backed by a lot of the biggest players in the market. Again, AU21, Andreessen Horowitz, for those who are familiar with. Galaxy Digital is there as well. So a lot of the big 3 Hours Capital, interesting, A16Z, A16Z as well. So they've got all the big names backing them, and we're going to come on to a lot of the kind of grey clouds that have emerged over Avalanche since the Terra Luna collapse, because that has had an impact, and that is one of my concerns with this project. But before we come on to that, let's take a look at the price, because quite comfortably here, if you're looking at the price action on Avalanche, if they can navigate this bear market, which is always a challenge for any layer 1 solution, can you navigate this bear market? If this bear market is going to go on for 12 months, for 16 months, 18 months, 24 months, can you navigate it? Because if it can, a comfortable return here for Avalanche is getting back to its Fibonacci level of 0.618 to 0.65. It should be able to achieve that with some comfortable ease, and that would suggest a very comfortable 5x back to just not even all-time highs, right? A return back to all-time highs would be a 7x, and a return just back to this Fibonacci level would comfortably give you a 5x. So a very nice risk to reward from these kind of levels on Avalanche. Now, what would be super interesting and a great risk to reward is if Avalanche was to revisit that $10 mark, right? Can it go fall below the lows here of about $14 and go test 10? Now, if Bitcoin goes to retest 17,600 and fall below that, maybe even going down to 15,000, you could get some great opportunities at Avalanche around the $10, at which point the risk to reward could be crazy, because then from $10 back to all-time highs, that's a 14x on a blue chip stable layer 1 solution. Okay, so that would definitely be a great risk reward in my opinion, not financial advice as always. Now, what is this moonshot? How do we get to a 93x on Avalanche? And is that even possible? Well, some of the arguments that some people can make is, what if in a bull market scenario, ETH is doing really well, it's merged its beacon chain, they're now proof of stake, they're going on from strength to strength, ETH is running at $10,000 at least, if not more. At $10,000, you're looking at an Ethereum with a market cap of 1 trillion roughly, right? ETH has already been at a high market cap of, I'll show you, but 560 billion, right? If you come here on CoinMarketCap, you click on Ethereum, you can head on over to here, click on market cap, click on all, and you will see that they hit a peak market cap of 560. So the question is, at 560 billion, if ETH is now moving the layer 1 space forward, they're now 1 trillion, all the other platforms are following behind it, maybe Binance Smart Chain is working its way to 600 billion, 700 billion. The question is, can Avalanche be the other layer 1 solution that's in there within the top 3-4 layer 1 solutions, which are plus 500 billion plus? Because if it can, that would indicate a 93x from today's current market cap of 6 billion on Avalanche. So if you're invested, that would be your moonshot, right? Not to say it's going to happen, but that is the scope of what could potentially happen if everything went to plan. Ethereum pushed the market forward. The layer 1 solution, the blockchain space gets huge adoption. Everybody is using DeFi, everybody's using NFTs, everybody's using gaming, and Avalanche becomes one of the standout players in the space. If they can execute like that flawlessly, then you could argue that that 90x is going to happen, but that is not going to be an easy. More realistically to ask is, what if you can get to Solana's peak market cap? Because Solana peaked at 75 billion. So again, in a bull market, everything going well, surely Avalanche could command a 12.5x from here, from 6 billion to 75 billion. That's a much more realistic return here on Avalanche, and I think that is a huge return to get on a stable project like Avalanche. To be able to get a 12x is not something to be snubbed at. Now, we also know Avalanche has done really well in terms of raising funds. Just as soon as April 22 this year, they raised 350 million at a valuation of 5 billion. So they're very well funded, good investors, decent tokenomics. If you guys want a detailed breakdown of the tokenomics, let me know. I can do my special deep dive breakdown into Avalanche's tokenomics. But there are a few red flags for me, which I have to bring up. And those red flags are centered around 3 things. And the first is, if I come into total value locked and I click on Avalanche, what you will then see is, of the 2.8 billion currently, 1.2 almost billion of that total value locked is just sitting in Aave, the DeFi platform, okay? So just sitting in Aave, and that's a huge risk to me, because if one platform is commanding half your total value locked, that is a bit of a problem. We also know they had a few issues, right? One with the wormhole bridge, which got hacked, bridging across to Solana, which is also bridged towards Avalanche. We also know that the Grayscale smart contract platform reduced its position in Avalanche. Initially, it was really great news that they were in that platform. It got reduced a little bit as they added more to Cardano, which was an interesting move. And we also had the issue with Wonderland with hiring the ex-CFO from Quadriga, the corrupt exchange from many, many years ago. So a lot of things are kind of a bit iffy, and these are the things that Avalanche will need to smooth out over the next few periods. We've also got the Luna sell-off, okay? This is a big concern for me, because if you remember, Luna Guard did a swap with Avalanche at the time, and this has really casted a really horrible cloud over Avalanche, because they were doing really well. And this partnership where they swapped Avalanche for Luna and UST really did cause a bunch of problems. And you can see now Luna Foundation Guard are sitting on about 100 million of Avalanche. Now, we already know that Avalanche lost about 200 million in the whole collapse, okay? Because they were actually had skin in the game. They had money risked. That is not an inconsequential amount. That's a huge amount for Avalanche, and I don't think we know the true effect it's having on the team. I think they've been quite coy about it. And then also with LFG sitting on another 100 million, at some point they're going to be dumping this as well. Okay, so this is a concern for me, looking at that as well. The next thing I wanted to give as a concern was, when you do come across here to Avalanche, you see that they don't have much of its coin supply circulating. Only 39% of the 720 million max supply is circulating. So there's going to be a lot of sell pressure, and I think the Avalanche Foundation, in order to navigate some of these challenges, are going to sell more and more in order to fund their operations. And if you look at their fully diluted market cap, it's already sitting at $15 billion. To put that into context, guys, I want to put this into context. The fully diluted market cap of Phantom is 800 million. 800 million. Okay, so almost a 20x differential between Avalanche and Phantom. And then you need to ask yourself, within the layer one portion of your portfolio, how much exposure do I want to give Avalanche in terms of risk to reward? Now, full disclosure, I own some Avalanche. I was buying some low previously last year, and I'm continuing to look to opportunities to dollar cost average, but certainly not at $21. If this was to fall back below 15, 13 kind of range, maybe I'll be nibbling a little bit more Avalanche. But there are other really exciting layer one solutions out there which I want to continue to accumulate. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, go watch the similar breakdown I did for Polygon, because that token is on fire, and you're definitely going to want to look at the potential I think Polygon Matic has as a really outstanding layer 2 solution. I'll see you over in that one.